You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Janafelt. Welcome back on Air with Chris Janafelt as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class, and I am now joined by Khalil Brooks, the linebacker converting to the safety position out of Middle Tennessee State University. Khalil, I appreciate you taking the time this morning. Can you believe your time as a college athlete has come and gone, and now here you are at the doorstep of the NFL, about 5 days away from finding out where your football journey takes you next?
Yes, sir. It's been a long journey from college to now, so I'm just hoping all the hard work I put in from college, I hope the NFL teams see that, and that they see that I was a player that, you can't pass up on.
Well, you certainly set yourself up nicely up to this point. And starting things off, let's talk about the draft process itself, Khalil. Unfortunately, the pandemic caused by COVID-19 forced most pro days as well as NFL Top 30 visits to cancel. But before all of that, you were able to get in front of some scouts, all 32 NFL teams, down at the College Gridiron Showcase in Fort Worth, Texas. What was that experience like to represent MTSU one last time in an all-star game setting?
It was a great experience. Honestly, that game is an up-and-coming game. You have a lot of small school guys and a lot of guys in D1 programs who participate in that game. And this year's a lot of talent, a lot of known names, like a lot of names just, you see on the college scene. So it was a great opportunity for me to be able to showcase my talents and for them to be able to see me to transition to safety and allow me to play in that game, because a lot of players don't get a chance to play in seeing games, and I'm just blessed to be able to play in that game. Honestly, this is my first transition back to safety since my junior year, so it was interesting, and it was also just a unique challenge for me that I think I did very good at.
Absolutely. As you said, one of the up-and-coming all-star games. I had the opportunity to cover it a couple years ago and to see the rise that game is making and the turnout that they have with NFL teams as well as the XFL, CFL. They're all in attendance as well. Have you been able to meet with any teams throughout this process, Khalil, whether it be at the CGS or even through phone calls or FaceTime interviews the last few weeks? Any idea how the NFL views you as a prospect?
Yes, sir. I didn't talk with the Giants, the Chargers, Bears, Colts, and the Atlanta Falcons. So they see me as a drop-down safety, and a lot of cover three schemes, and they see me as a guy who can blitz the quarterback. I could drop into coverage, play the man-to-man, and I just can feel on any team, special teams-wise. I feel like at my time in Middle Tennessee State, I have enough tape to show that I can play any special teams, and I'm able to do it. And for me, as a player, I redshirted my first year. So they expect me to come in, try to learn the system, and try to build myself up to be a starter in about 1 or 2 years. So that's just my goal. That's what my mindset is, and that's what I'm trying to work to become.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's interest there in you at the next level. One of those teams you mentioned was the Chicago Bears, Khalil. We're based out of Chicago. The Bears are in need of a safety to play opposite side of Eddie Jackson. Obviously, you would like to play for any of the 32 NFL teams that give you an opportunity, but putting yourself in the shoes of the navy blue and orange for a second, hypothetically, obviously, Khalil, but what would that opportunity be like to play for one of the founding organizations in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, in a city like Chicago and a team that is known for their historically great defenses? What would that opportunity be like for you to play alongside a guy with the caliber of like an Eddie Jackson here in Chicago?
Honestly, it'd be a blessing to play alongside a lot of those guys. I watch a lot of those guys on film. I watch a lot of those guys on TV. So, hypothetically speaking, it'd be a great experience to play for any team. The Bears have a great defense. They have a lot of great players, even a player that had the same name as me, like Khalil Mack. So that defense get after it. And about 2 years ago, they was one of the teams in the hunt to get into the championship game. So it'll be an honor.
I'll be all in on having a defense with two Khalils on it, that's for sure. Khalil, you recently had your mock pro day in which you measured in at 5'10", 206 pounds. You ran a 4.47 40-yard dash to go with a 4.1 short shuttle, 7.08 L drill, 38-inch vertical, and a 10-foot broad jump. Where were you training at prior to that pro day taking place, and how do you feel about the numbers that you now have out there?
I was training at Boost Performance in Nashville, and my trainer was Jordan Llewellyn, and he did a great job of just helping us, take it day by day, just paying attention to details and just to get our numbers up. Honestly, my numbers were a lot better practicing, but at the mock pro day, I did the best I can with the conditions we were in, and it was just a great experience because a lot of guys I know that they didn't have a chance to do their pro day, and like me, I didn't get the chance to do my pro day, but I did it in front of a former director for the Titans, so my numbers were verified, and it was a great experience just to see a lot of guys who just had the opportunity to get their pro day with everything going on in the world.
Yeah, and obviously to get that recorded and to get those numbers out there and sent to all 32 NFL teams and to have it verified by a former, NFL executive, always big. Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL draft prospect Khalil Brooks, the linebacker turned safety out of Middle Tennessee State University. And Khalil, looking at your career, looking at the past 4 or 5 years, what was the recruiting process like for you coming out of Benjamin Mays High School in Atlanta, Georgia, and how did MTSU ultimately win you over?
Yes, sir. I went to a prestige high school in Atlanta, Georgia called Mays High School. And we have a lot of great players like Nick Patrick, who's in the league right now for the LA Rams. And then we have Dallas Warmack, who's a guy who's coming up in this draft, and also Marquavian Brinson, who's another guy who's coming up. So we had a lot. I played around a lot of great players, and so a lot of scouts came through our school, and it was a battle for the guys in our school, and we eventually went to the state championship that year, even though we lost. So we had a lot of great talent, and you can kind of see that now with the guys who are still trying to make it to the next level. So the way I got to MTSU was just Coach Stock. At first, I was committed to Kent State. I took my visit there, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can just be in this system or be up there. But then I went to Middle Tennessee, just felt like home, and it was not too far, not too close to home. From Atlanta, Georgia to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Coach Stock, he just felt like a great father figure, a great coach, and a great people person. And he's shown that over the last 5 years. He's been a great coach to me. And at first I moved to corner, and after that they tried me at nickel and stuff like that. And eventually I became a linebacker, outside linebacker with nickel, and it just worked so well. A lot of guys mentored me through the time at MTSU, or I've seen play who are now at the next level, like guys like Kevin Byard, Charvarius Ward, and Richie James. So just going against those guys and playing with those guys just helped me get to this level.
Certainly, and you mentioned those guys. A lot of talent has come out of Middle Tennessee State, especially in the past 4 years or so. You've had teammates go on and have great success at the next level. You mentioned it. You can make an argument that Kevin Byard is the best safety in the NFL. Cornerback Charvarius Ward was a key piece on the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl winning team. Wide receiver Richie James was a draft pick by the San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago. Have you been able to talk to any of those guys recently? Have they given you any advice as you now look to follow their footsteps into the NFL?
Yes, sir. I just talked to Charvarius Ward a lot. Not a lot, but just a little bit, because those guys are they're still trying to hone in our craft. But he just told me just to stay down and just to believe in yourself, and not to get discouraged by how way things go. If you get undrafted, if you go get drafted, you still got to compete and fight for that roster spot. So that's always been my mindset, and that's how I always been able to work, just to be able to fight, to be able to show my talents. And then if you do everything right, I just feel like everything's gonna work out for you in the long run.
Yeah, and Ward's the perfect example for that. He was a highly heralded undrafted free agent signed with the Cowboys before landing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Khalil, looking at your career that you had there at MTSU, you were a two-time all-conference performer at linebacker. You guys played a lot of nickel package defenses. Many would say that you're too small to play linebacker, even at the college football level. How were you able to play the position at such a high level and maybe use your smaller stature size as a skill, because you really made a living making plays in the backfield?
Yes, sir. I give all the credit to Coach Scott Schaefer. He's the guy that knows to use me well. He used me very well. In our system, I was the guy who kind of you had to watch out for. I'm the guy that the defense was around me. They played around me, so I just used my speed, my athleticism, and also I have strength too. So I'm a hybrid at heart, just a player that's going to play with a lot of energy, and I just play a lot of heart, and I have a lot of grit to me, and also being overlooked and through the college recruiting, especially. I just want to show teams what you missed out on, and I feel like I played a great against teams who were Power 5 teams, and it's nothing about height, it's nothing about size, it's all about heart, and I always believe that you see guys like that with Tyrann Mathieu, Jabril Peppers. That's a lot of guys who they compare me to.
Your career year came in 2017 when you racked up a career-high 76 tackles to go along with 17 tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks, a forced fumble as well. Throughout your career, you had 38 tackles for loss, 17 sacks, and 15 pass breakups. I spoke to Javante Moffitt last month, and he also praised defensive coordinator Scott Schaefer for the impact that he's had on his career. You touched on it a little bit as well. How much of an impact has Schaefer had, or even linebacker coach Diabate had on your career and the success that you've had up to this point?
Yes, sir. I give all the credit to Coach Diabate too. He's just a guy that every time we go and watch film, he always make me pay attention to details. And even if I make a good play, he always has a critique. He can always get better at each play. And those guys has always taught me, you can always be better. And you're not a first rounder, you're not an all world, so it's always something you get better at. And just also being a man, just knowing that they always taught me that the next 4 or 5 years will help me for the rest of the 40 years of my life. So just always being that person, always being that man, always being somebody of the community. I give all the credit to those coaches, and they are great people, and I hope that the coming up players who play for them just see that, understand that, and know that these coaches, they really care for you at Middle Tennessee State.
Again, we're chatting with Khalil Brooks, the 2020 NFL Draft prospect. Linebacker transitioning to safety out of Middle Tennessee State University. And Khalil, what would you say is the most memorable play that you've made throughout your career? Let's say 10, 15 years down the road, you're thinking about your Blue Raiders career. What will be that first play that comes to mind?
Just the play. I didn't make the play, but Arkansas State game, they was trying to do a flea flicker or just a trick play, and they was trying to throw it to the running back. And me just having that instinct to just watch that running back, him trying to do a wheel route at the backfield, I caused the team to I caused the quarterback to fumble the ball. It was my team getting enough time to run to the quarterback, and he fumbled the ball. And we changed the game around. That's the biggest momentum shift in the game in the Arkansas State Community Bowl game. So that's one of the plays that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And it was the first time we won a bowl game in Middle Tennessee State. So I think that's the play that I always remember.
Absolutely. For those not familiar with your game, Khalil, how would you describe it? What would you say is the biggest strength that you bring to the defensive side of the football?
I'm going to bring a versatility factor to the team. I can play anywhere. I'm able to play anywhere. And if I don't know how to play, I'm going to learn how to play, and I'm learning how to do it fast. And that's how I am. I'm a guy that can run. I can blitz. I can get into the other team's head, and I'm a very instinctive guy. I watch a lot of film. I know what the teams like to do. I can read tendencies and stuff like that. So, and I'm always going to be the guy who be on special teams. So, that's just the guy I am. I'm a team player before I player. So that's just me. I'm a captain. I'm a leader. That's just me.
Talk about the leadership qualities that you have, Khalil. I mean, I know last year you were voted a team captain. Did that mean anything to you? I mean, what's it like to have other players look up to you and look for your leadership at times when it's needed?
Yes, sir. The leadership factor is a big thing to me, especially as a senior. It was a big thing for me. Just knowing the guys that they trust me, they see me as a leader, they see me as a person that not only at MTSU is a person on the football field, but a person off the field. That's how we vote for our captains. That's how we vote for our leaders. Those guys who are also captains for me, those guys are not only just good football players, but they're great mentors, great people off the field. And that's what we try to do as leaders. We try to, build our teammates on and off the field, and that's just important to me.
A few minutes ago you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, Jabril Peppers, a couple other names that kind of come to mind are Dayon Buchanan and Mark Barron, guys that have that similar skill set. They play that money backer position. They can play safety if needed. They can play down in the box as well. Would you say those are guys that you kind of like to watch and model your game after?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of guys I'll model my game after. You have to model your game after those guys because they're at the highest level. So I always try to watch tape on those guys and try to see what they do. And, those guys are very instinctive. I watch a lot of film and see how they read different teams. And, I give all the credit to those guys because they allow guys like me to be able to play in the league because back then you always wanted bigger linebackers. It was not a speed game. It was more of a ground and pound game. So now I give all thanks to those guys because those are the guys that are the first to do it and make sure that we all get a chance to play in the league.
Khalil, we're about less than a week away from the start of the 2020 NFL Draft. It's obviously April 23rd through 25th weekend. Your day will likely be Saturday, rounds 4 through 7. Any plans for Draft Day?
I'm just going to sit back, chill. Probably going to still work out, try to get in shape with everything going on around my neighborhood. And I always have the phone by my side just in case things happen. So that's just my plans. I'm not a guy that's going to try to celebrate or, I'm not going to get too happy yet. The work's not done yet.
That's right. Final question, then we'll let you go. It's a question I end all my prospect interviews with, and that is, let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want Khalil Brooks out of Middle Tennessee State University a part of their team?
I'm a guy that play all positions, and I'm open to play all positions. I'm a guy that's going to want to get it to special teams. It's going to be a team guy. I'm just always going to play my role. I know my role on the team. I'm going to understand my role on the team. I'm always going to be on the film, watching film, looking at the playbook. And I'm a guy that also be part of the community. I'm also try to help everyone in the community that I can and just to be that person that's seen as a good character guy. And I'm always going to work hard to give the best chance I can to make it on the team. So that's just my pitch. That's who I am. That's Khalil Brooks for you.
Hey, well said, Khalil. Really appreciate you taking the time this morning. Congratulations on the stellar career that you had there with the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. And, again, congrats on making the most of, this draft process. Again, you guys were dealt with a pretty rough hand of cards, but you were able to make the most of the opportunity. You had a stellar pro day. You stood out at the College Gridiron Showcase. So you're certainly checking off all the boxes as we get closer and closer to the 2020 NFL Draft, Khalil. Really appreciate the time and can't wait to see where your football journey takes you next.
Yes, sir. Thank you.